Hello Stratters, it's CreepEvee back again this week. We're doing a little bit more Pauper again. So kind of getting back to our normal routine after our discussion video last week. It seemed like you guys enjoyed that, so we might do something like that in the future for the next set. I enjoyed doing it. I thought it was pretty fun. So we might do something like that with the next set. We might make that kind of a recurring thing every time a set comes out. And we might do that for more formats, but for right now it seemed like Pauper is the thing that I mostly do on this channel. So today we have something a little bit more interesting. So we're doing Slivers this week. I know Slivers might not be the most popular deck in the world because they kind of have a reputation for being very annoying. And I'm not going to deny that. I'm kind of nervous about doing this video, so I hope people don't get mad at me for playing a deck that's kind of annoying to play against. They just have this reputation of being annoying, but they can also be really fun. I like Slivers a lot. I think that they're really interesting. I think that the lore behind them especially is really interesting. But in Pauper, they're not really my favorite deck to play. I really enjoy them in EDH though, so we might try to do something with them in EDH sometime. I don't know. We'll kind of see how it goes. But today's deck we have from a YouTube user, I want to get your name right, Aut3. I don't know exactly how that would be pronounced. But he requested Slivers and he gave me this deck list. I had a couple other people also request Slivers. So as I always say, I want to do the things that you guys are interested in. So we are playing Slivers this week. I like his build a lot. You could definitely make a couple changes to it, make it a little bit more diverse, throw in a couple different Slivers, but it's a pretty straightforward build, and it's definitely effective. I tried it out. The thing that you want to do with Slivers is just you're going to swarm the board and hit hard, and his build has a really good curve in it, so I like that a lot. But let's get into it. Slivers, like I said, very much a swarming deck, especially whenever you play it in Pauper. If you don't know how Slivers work, pretty much all of them have an ability that says all Slivers get this. So it might be like Plated Sliver here that all of them get +0, +1. Or you might be like Wing Sliver that they all get flying. That's kind of their theme. So the ones that we have in Pauper are a little bit more limited. They're usually the you get +something ones, with a few exceptions. So let's get into it. We'll look over the pump ones, which is most of the ones that we're going to have in this deck. So Plated Sliver, +0, +1, which is another one. Sinew Sliver, all of them get +1, +1. Predatory Sliver, everybody gets +1, +1. And Muscle Sliver, everybody gets +1, +1. So we want to get as many of them into play as we can, as quick as we can, just flood the board with them and start making all of our Slivers get even larger, and then just swing for large amounts of damage. That's the basic idea behind it. But we have a few Slivers to help us do a few other things. We'll look at our first one, Sidewinder Sliver. All Slivers have flanking. So flanking, kind of a mechanic that hasn't showed up much since it was originally printed. Essentially, whenever your creature attacks that has flanking, if a creature blocks it, they get -1/-1 until end of turn. So just making it a little bit safer for your creatures to attack. Next, we have Sentinel Sliver. Gives all of our Slivers vigilance. Very strong card because we're making our creatures very large, so they make good blockers. So we're safe to just go ahead, hit as hard as we can, and still have blockers in place. So very good card. Talon Sliver. All of our Slivers have First Strike, making our attacking a lot safer and our blocking a lot safer. Spinneret Sliver. We just have one of them. All of our creatures have reach. Gemhide Sliver. All of our creatures have that they can tap for 1 mana of any color to our pool. So it just turns all of our Slivers into mana dorks. So that is our lineup of Slivers. As far as other spells, we'll look at, we have Hive Stirrings. This just puts out 2 colorless Sliver creature tokens, just another set of creatures that we can affect with our pump up Slivers, make them larger. Just a pretty quick way to accelerate the number of creatures we have on board. Let's see. We have 4 Journey to Nowhere. Is just a very strong card in Pauper. Remove some of our opponent's creatures. That way we can just get in with our pumped up Slivers. Vines of Vastwood. Essentially just to give our creature hexproof for a turn if they're targeted, and it's at instant speed, but also the +4/+4 helps us close out the game since we are an aggro deck. Let's see. I think that is it. Yeah. So that's everything. It's a very creature heavy deck, and it's a very straightforward build. But I think that every build of Slivers is going to be pretty straightforward. Green-white is pretty much the accepted way to build it. But you can definitely throw in other colors. Red is a pretty strong one. But green and white are just where you find the Slivers that pump each other up, and that's pretty much the best way to win with this deck. I forgot Virulent Sliver. Okay, so Virulent Sliver has Poisonous, which is somewhat similar to Infect, but Infect goes by the amount of damage that your creature does. With Poisonous, that Virulent Sliver is giving them, it doesn't matter how much damage you do, you're only going to give them 1 poison counter whenever you do that damage. But because we're swinging with so many creatures, if our opponent is playing life gain and we just can't close out the game, we can't get ahead of their life gain, Virulent Sliver can allow us to win that way. Sorry, I almost forgot about him. But moving on to our side deck, also our land base, very simple. We just have the Blossoming Sands and then 8 forest, 8 plains, so very straightforward. Onto the side deck, we have 3 Circle of Protection reds, just wanting to make sure that we don't take burn damage and protect our creatures from things like Lightning Bolt or Flame Slash. Sun Lances, just a very good way to kill off our opponent's creatures in white. So if we're going up against creature heavy decks that are kind of low toughness creatures that we can kill off with 3 damage, pretty strong way to add some removal in. Young Wolf, just an undying blocker that we can recur. He is a 1-drop, so just get him out very quickly. Keep blocking with him. Essentially he can block twice. On our last card, 4 Armadillo Cloaks. So if we have a card in our main deck that just isn't working, like let's say Journey to Nowhere isn't doing much for us, let's just throw Armadillo Cloaks in. We're going to pump up our creatures by 2, give our creatures Trample, and give our creatures Lifelink. I can't really think of a very specific matchup where you would need it. Like I said, it's pretty much just if you have some cards that don't really help you out, it can be a good option to bring them in, just help you close out the game very quickly. Or if you need some life gain against maybe like a burn deck, it's a very good option. I like it in the side deck. I like it in the side deck of a lot of decks, actually. I think it's a great card in Pauper. So that is the deck. Like I said, it's very straightforward. So it's a deck that doesn't have a very high learning curve. So if you're a newer player, it's definitely a deck that you might be able to pick up pretty quickly. Also, the deck is pretty cheap, even on paper. The Sliver cards have had several printings, most of them, and the ones that haven't are still not very expensive. I can't think of any here that would be very expensive. Virulent Slivers only had 1 print, but it's still not very much at all. So building them in pretty much any format can be very affordable. So I think it's a good deck for newer players. I think it's a good deck for budget players. If you like aggressive decks, this is definitely about as aggressive as you can get. So now that we've gone over the deck, and I do want to again thank Ot3, I believe was his name. I'll leave his name in the description, as well as I'm going to put the deck on tapped out so you guys can see the list in front of you, and I'll leave that deck list in the description as always. So make sure to, in the comments, thank him for this awesome deck. I hope that he sees this video. And check it out, try the deck out. But for right now, let's jump over into the games and see how well we can do. Alright guys, we are back playing our green-white Slivers deck. Looks like we're going second, and I don't think we can keep this hand. The only thing we can play is Sidewinder, because we only have one land. Oh boy, no land. Well, we don't have any green mana, but let's put that on the bottom. Maybe we should have kept that first hand and just hoped to draw in green mana, because we certainly need to draw it now. So our opponent plays Blossoming Sands. Well, at least we have something that we can play with this white mana. Oh no, the mirror match. This should be fun. So the problem is that some of the slivers say slivers that you control, and some of the slivers say all slivers. So we will actually be pumping some of his creatures, like with Sinew Sliver. But he could pump some of ours. So all slivers again. Oh boy. This is interesting. Yeah, you see like Predatory Sliver says all slivers that you control. Okay, so we get to green mana. Let's play Predatory Sliver, seeing as he will pump only our slivers. And I prefer that. Come on, Moto. Oh boy, Moto. Don't be slow today. I do not know how to feel about this mirror match. The problem is we're both just going to be pumping each other's slivers, so our slivers are going to get dangerously big very quickly. So it's kind of just going to be who can get in with a couple of slivers, since our slivers are both going to be huge. We're not going to attack. We need to get to our Talon Sliver. I think that's going to be, but of course I think Talon Sliver actually says all. It's the older slivers that say all, and then later on Wizards realize that they should probably change that. But he plays his Predatory Sliver. This is not a great situation for us, to be honest. We're going to take the 5. Him having Vigilance is an issue. Plated Sliver, that does not do much for us right now. Hive Stirring gets us some blockers. I think that's what we have to do. It's not that interesting of a play, but Not going to attack. So at least now we can block his Sentinel Sliver with something that isn't going to cost us our more valuable slivers. What will we be seeing now? A Hive Stirrings. Wow, this is an interesting matchup. Let's play our planes. Let's play Plated Sliver. Play Muscle Sliver. The important thing with Plated Sliver is to make our creatures tough enough to where when we block each other, we won't be able to kill each other's creatures, which will make blocking safe and make attacking unsafe, which is pretty important to us right now. Man, this is interesting. I don't know if we can win this. I think it's pretty much just whoever is at the least amount of life, and that's us. Another Sentinel Sliver. So they have double vigilance rather, not vengeance. This is kind of just another Muscle Sliver. It's kind of just us sitting here with both of us having nukes. We're just getting bigger and bigger creatures. So it kind of comes down to one or two attackers. Muscle Sliver. Oh man. Oh, what do we do here? I don't think Vines of Asswood really does anything for us right now. Well, let's give our guys reach. I guess that's the best play we've got right now. I mean, what can we do? We have Slivers out right now with 10 toughness. This is ridiculous. It's just none of us can attack, because if we attack, all of our Slivers have more toughness than they have power, so they can block each other safely. Vines of Asswood, I don't think he is really going to be playing anything that's going to target us, besides maybe a Journey to Nowhere. So Vines of Asswood, really I need to be able to kick it, or else it's not going to be able to do anything, and we only have one green at the moment. Well, we draw planes. So now we can give one of our creatures hexproof. The dangerous thing is he is now one sliver ahead of us, which now we can't block all of his slivers. He can attack, and if he attacks, yeah, this is the thing, like whoever's one sliver ahead, so he could put me down to like 3 life here if he swings with everybody, because I can only block is one more than me, so one of them will get through. I can't double block anyone to kill them, because then I'll die. So it's not looking good for us right now. We're essentially on a 1 turn clock at this point, and I don't know what we can draw that wins us the game. I guess he decides not to go for it. I don't see a reason not to go for it. He has vigilance. So really nothing to hold him back. We can play this Virulent Sliver. Man, 10 power slivers. This is crazy. And Virulent Sliver is all slivers, so now we all have poison. This is crazy. Oh man. This might not make for a great video as far as interesting aspects of it. There's the Journey to Nowhere. And I didn't stop it in time. But even if we did that, we're dead anyway. So yeah. He probably could have killed us a turn early. Even without the Journey to Nowhere. So the Journey to Nowhere is good. I'd like to maybe be able to Sunlance earlier on in the match. But the problem there is that if we go at the pace that we did before, our creatures are going to be too big to kill with 3 damage very quickly. I like Armadillo Cloak here because if all of our slivers are going to be the same attack and, well, not attack and defense. I played Yu-Gi-Oh! For several years. Same power and toughness, then we're at a standstill. But if I play an Armadillo Cloak, then I have an advantage that his creatures do not. But I don't know of anything that we can take out. Except for the Vines of Vastwood. Let's go down to Vines of Vastwood and go up to Armadillo Cloaks. And let's try that. Our opponent says yay. I don't know whether I'm saying yay. We'll play first, yes. 1 land doesn't do anything for us. We have Gem Hide. We're going first. I want to mulligan and see what we can get. Okay, so 2 lands and 2 predatory slivers. Spinneret Sliver, I don't think we want. I think we want to get some mana. Predatory slivers are good, seeing as they're not going to pump his creatures, and that is something that we definitely don't want to do. We really need to start the game off with 1-drop slivers. Apparently our opponent passes. I don't know whether that was intentional or not. Maybe he decided to keep a hand with no land in it. I don't know. Okay, so Sidewinder Sliver, giving his slivers flanking. Once player Blossoming Sands, gain a life. Play another Predatory Sliver. Attack with a Predatory Sliver. Luckily, our creatures have flanking too. This is just a wacky matchup. Well, we've drawn into the slivers that we need, for sure. They would be good regardless, but in this matchup they are especially good. Chooses not to block. If he does block, we actually kill his creature, seeing as it's only a 1/1. So it attacking will just kill it. With flanking, I don't know. I think that we're still technically blocked, so our damage won't get through. Yeah, I think that's how that works out. So he would still block us, but at the same time he's getting -1/-1. So I guess the flanking aspect doesn't really matter. So you can now block all 3 of our slivers. Plated sliver. Well, let's play it just to increase our potential damage. It's going to force more blockers. Okay, so go to sideboarding. Yeah, I don't know whether our opponent intended to skip his turn that first turn, but from what we saw, I think we were definitely outpacing him. So either way, I think that game was probably in our favor. So that match, not quite as interesting, but I think the first one was pretty neat. We'll keep this hand. We have 2 different color mana, and we have some good slivers to play with. Predatory Sliver, definitely. This is going to be the difference maker in this matchup. So do we want to start with Plated, or do we want to start with Virulent? Or Sidewinder? Plated helps him out, but it also, Virulent helps him out too. I think that kind of is either or. Like I said, Plated Sliver did make a difference in the last game, but let's just go with a Virulent Sliver. Slivers, like I said earlier, I really find Slivers interesting. They're a cool concept. They were kind of the Eldrazi before the Eldrazi. Well, there we go. So now our creatures are poisonous. So wait, does that... So all of our creatures will give 2 poison counters. That actually makes this pretty dangerous. So we're going to be poisoning each other twice as fast. It's kind of scary. So if he blocks us, that puts 2 poison counters on Virulent Sliver. Or does poisonous... How does that work? I actually don't know how that works now. Because I'm not sure whether that's going to put 2 poison counters on me. I can't remember whether it's like infect and it puts poison counters on the creatures or not. Let's find out. I'm assuming he'll want to block this. If he does block it and it works the way I'm thinking, then both of our slivers will die. So he chooses not to block. So we will put 2 poison counters on our opponent. Oh man, our infect game is strong here. So now I'm trying to figure out if I block with Predatory Sliver. Can I get preview plane? Just read poisonous really quick. Deals damage to a player. Yeah, so it's 2 players. So it doesn't work like infect. Journey to Nowhere. So who do we put down? I think we use our mana efficiently and play the Talon Sliver. I would play the Muscle Sliver, but it does give both sides +1/+1. So now we're both going to have first strike, which, you know, doesn't make a difference, but it is not going to give him increased attack as well. So our opponent chooses not to block. So he is now at 4 poison counters. I think the next thing we need is Sidewinder Sliver. Because then I don't actually have to worry about him blocking. I actually don't really want him to block here, because I'd like to continue to have double poisonous. If nothing else, it's interesting, and we could win by poison counters, and I think that would make for an interesting end to this video for sure. So I will take the damage here, because I want to keep an attacker open. So we're now at 2 poison counters as well. Well, he is at 4, we are at 2. So end step. Definitely want to hold on to the Journey to Nowhere for right now. So a Blossoming Sands. The interesting thing about Poisonous over Infect is that you still do damage. So you don't do damage in the form of poison counters like Infect does. So you don't have, you can kind of play both strategies. You can still keep doing damage, or you can win by Infect. So both of our creatures are getting through. For some reason it doesn't want to just skip that. Oh, there we go. Our opponent is at 8 poison counters. No creature this turn. If he doesn't play a creature this turn, or do something to kill one of our slivers. Okay, he does play a sliver. I was gonna say, we could win by... But we can Journey to Nowhere. Well, that's still... So we're going to go to 8 poison counters. Normally a bad idea, but I am going to try to win this. I'm determined to win this by poison counters. There's no other way to win this. So let's Journey to Nowhere and get the Sentinel Sliver. Our opponent Vines of Vastwoods. That's not good for us. Well, let's play Muscle Sliver. This is just hilarious to me. I love it when games go like this. In hindsight, Plated Sliver probably would have been better, because then I can block safely. And actually blocking with Virulent Sliver makes this game a lot safer for both of us. Because that way I wouldn't have, so if I block, so let's do Virulent with Virulent, because if they kill each other, then we don't have to worry about dying from poison counters. We're going to block there. Oh yeah, but with flanking, his Sliver won't die. So poison counters are still an issue. Yeah, I should have played plated Sliver. I mean, my creature still would have died, but... Oh, does flanking... Am I thinking flanking works wrong? Oh, because he blocked and killed Muscle Sliver. So then he's taken enough damage to where if they lose that +1/+1, they die. Okay. There we go. I figured it out. So now we're both at 8 poison counters, so drawing Virulent Slivers is dangerous for both of us. I really wanted to win by poison counters. Maybe that can still happen. We still have 3 Virulent Slivers in this deck, and he probably has 3 more as well. Sinew Sliver comes down. Our own Sinew Sliver. But who cares about these? We want to win by poison counters. Oh boy. Muscle Sliver comes down. Oh no. Flanking actually makes this very difficult. Because this makes this game a lot more back and forth. Instead of being standstill like it was before. So we're in an interesting place where if he draws into his Virulent Sliver, he could have won this turn. So let's be smart about our blockers here. Spinneret can block, and then because Spinneret blocks safely here. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to block Muscle Sliver. So then we can do 3 damage to something. Well, no. That doesn't work. That'd be 9, 13 damage. Let's take the 13 damage. Then we have 13 damage on board, which does not win us the game. Thrill of the Hunt. So do again. +1/+1 until the end of turn, and then has flashback. Oh, I think we're dead here, guys. Yeah, we are dead. Well, good game to our opponent. We'll just show him that we had the plated Sliver. That was interesting, to say the least. So part of me, because the games weren't. We didn't really get to show off the deck all that well. Well, I think we did. We got to show off. We got to show it off twice as many times as we normally do. Mirror matches are really interesting, but that is a mirror match that is really interesting. Probably could have played it a lot better, but I was too busy laughing most of the time. I really wish that one of us could have won by poison counters. I think that would have been fun. But I enjoyed this. I hope you guys did. I'm debating whether or not I should post this. But I had a ton of fun with it, so maybe you guys will enjoy it. It was definitely the most interesting game with Slivers I've ever had. So I hope you guys liked this weird match that we played. Maybe sometime we'll come back and revisit Slivers and try to do something maybe a little bit more of a traditional match, I guess, with Slivers. But I definitely appreciate the deck list from Aut3. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If you guys enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel to see more of my videos, as well as some of the great videos that the other content creators on the channel are making. I will be back next week. I don't know exactly what I'm bringing you next week. With Hour of Devastation being out now, there's all sorts of fun things to do in many different formats. My roommate and I have been doing a lot of brewing recently, so we'll see. Not really sure. I'm not even sure what format we'll be seeing next week. Possibly something even in standard. But let me know what kind of format you guys want to see next week, and if you want to see a particular deck. I do want to try to do something with the new cards from Hour of Devastation, but if you guys would prefer to see something else, please let me know. So that's been CreepEvee for this week, signing out.